One of the funniest parts in this film is when Kristen runs to her closet, failing to put her coat on. A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, is a supernatural slasher painfully written by Brian Helgeland and Scott Pierce with direction from, oh boy, Rennie Harlan, guys.
I'm gonna be very nice. I'm going to be very nice.
I'm trying not to be a hater. It's above me, you know, but I just, how does this man keep getting work in Hollywood? I really wish that we would pick more people who you know what? We're gonna get into it later. I have only talked about one of his films on this channel before, a horrible film called The Covenant about male witches. On a budget over $6.5 million, The Dream Master grossed over $49 million at the box office. We are on the fourth installment of a franchise. I have never on this channel gone past 2. I have a playlist on my channel, by the way, if you want to watch the other Elm Street films I've visited so far. I love this franchise, even though, you probably already know if you know these movies, but if you don't, if you are experiencing them through me, I'm just telling you now, we are about to enter the back half where it's a whole switch up. Shit is about to get weird. While I don't think The Dream Master is a lot of Fredhead's favorites, it does have a special spot in this lineup because it marked a major turning point. There were jokes thrown across this franchise. We saw the one-liners come in heavy during part 3 when Frederick was, killing the suicidal teenagers. But part 4 amped everything up. I don't want to get too into it for the intro because we're going to talk about it, like I said, later and through the breakdown, but I will say this for now. This version of Freddy Krueger is referred to as MTV Freddy, so that gives you that tells you everything. This was the highest grossing horror film of 1988, and it's also the highest grossing entry in the Elm Street franchise. That is until we got Freddy vs. Jason in 2003. Robert Englund officially got top billing this time around, and the success of this movie convinced producers to create the shortly lived TV show Freddy's Nightmares. Make sure to keep a pack of Newports and a Diet Coke by your nightstand because I'm gonna need you up and at 'em while I'm teaching you karate. You are not ready to fight this demon, young one, but you will be. Oh yes, we will kick ass. And I want you to remember one thing. Mind over matter.
How's this for a wet dream?
The film opens on a bippity-bop record that still shuffles on my Spotify till this day called Nightmare by Tuesday Night. Running from this nightmare, I turn around but there's no one there, and I run. This is my part right here when she said I'm running. Running from this nightmare.
Find the note.
I was hoping I would see a little VHS behind the scenes recording of Tuesday Night recording this song in the fucking foot. By the way, Tuesday Night is one of the main cast members in the movie. We get visuals of a child drawing on a dirty concrete street with white chalk. Want to guess what she's drawing? We get this crane shot and fly up meeting our first character, Kristen. Who? Yes, Kristen from Dream Warriors. I don't know who that is, but the movie's telling me it's Kristen, so, by the way, that's Tuesday Night, who sings the opening song. I automatically go to the paycheck with things like this when actors do not return, but Patricia Arquette did say that she wanted to be in more dramatic roles. But not only that, she also got pregnant with her son Enzo around this time. Kristen's asking this little girl if she lives here, and she's smiling in her face saying, "No ho, nobody lives here." So Chris asks where's Freddy, and the little girl giggles, "He's not home." Lightning strikes, it's now nighttime, the rain has washed her hard work away. Oh, I would have been pissed. And the Elm Street house front door opens. I know we have to create atmosphere, right? We have to give our actress something to do. But if this is the same Kristen from the movie before. Why are you acting scared like you ain't been through this before? Y'all defeated this man. Now, sure, we're gonna learn soon that he actually comes back. But and I know also I'll say this. You know, you had a group of friends. You had the Dream Warriors by your side. But baby, your powers ain't leave you. Word. So pin your hair up and get ready to box. The little white kids from the hood summon jumping rope, singing the famous nursery rhyme. Do your chain hang low, do it wobble to the flow. I'll say this too, even when Kristen was outside of the house and how we were sweeping around the little girl chalking on the concrete and the crane shots, we're only 2 minutes in the film and you can just feel how much the budget went up and how different. It feels so much different than everything that came before so far. And this is the Elm Street film that everybody universally agrees is the most stylistic and aesthetic. Chris tries to run out the front door after seeing a tricycle fall down the steps. Girl, I know you ain't scared of a bike now. But every time she runs out, it leads back into the house. Oh, they did the damn thing with the set design. It's so good. The window shatters, blowing the skinny queen all the way into the boiler room, where there's chains hung up. What in the hell, Razor? She can hear knives scraping and starts screaming for her Dream Warriors to come protect her. So we meet Kincaid napping on his desk, who jumps up with his dog, Jason, who runs under the bed. If you remember Kristen's powers from part 3, we know that she can pull people inside of her dreams. Kincaid's thrown into the air through the wall and starts cussing up a storm because why is you bringing me in this again? I ain't gonna hold you, Kincaid. I would have been mad too. A hand comes out touching Kristen and we meet Joey again, debuting his bust down. Both boys are pissed that she brought them in this dream, you know, saying that Fred is dead. And Kristen shaking her head like, no, I heard him. He's coming back for us. Joey opens the wood stove, telling her the pipes are cold and the boiler's cold. Didn't Marge say that to Nancy in the first movie? Like, y'all, that don't mean just because this little wood stove is as cold as this rollie on my wrist, don't mean this motherfucker dead. She's got her back to the inside, so you know something's going to happen. And Jason jumps through, biting her arm, which causes everybody to wake up. Now, when Cade wakes up, he sees the blood all over the dog. No. The next morning, Kristen's cruising around, listening to her soft girl pop music, and pulls into a driveway. We meet Mr. Johnson, who completely ignores Kristen when she asks how is he. Rude. And then we meet Alice. So Alice has a brother named Rick, and Rick is Kristen's boyfriend. We're about to meet him in a second. But before we get into that, not only did Mr. Johnson ignore Kristen when she greeted him, but this bastard criticizes Alice's outfit, saying, "You're going out looking like that?" Look at what she's wearing. He is saying this as if she's going to school with a 2-inch crop top with some booty shorts on the way to class. Rick then shows up, coming outside from the second floor window, giving me Robert Downey Jr. realness. He's kind of attractive to me, why'd lie? He briefly makes a comment about Daddy-O popping aspirin like popcorn, but I think he's popping a little something stronger than that. When the trio pull into their school parking lot, we immediately start meeting more of the friend group. First up is Debbie, the athletic tough chick. She points out this jock named Dan Jordan. The actor who plays Dan is named Danny Hassel. Yes, the same name as the character. They did not have a specific name for this character, so they just named him Dan.
Weak.
Like, wow, these writers fucking suck. You know, imagination is not that hard. Debbie Cakes is like, we are talking one major league hunk. Alice has a crush on this man, by the way. Luckily for her, Dan walks right up to Alice. You know, bad boy, you are one major league hunk. But that was all in her head. And Rick asks if she's spacing out again, which tells us that she what? Alice daydreams. Remember that. Our next character, Sheila, comes riding on a moped. Our first black woman of the franchise? Well, yes. Both Sheila and Deb are polar opposite best friends. And I love how Sheila's character is not some, you know, airhead, popular, glamorous cheerleader. She's intelligent. She's innovative. Debbie asks how could she ride this dinosaur machine blowing all that toxic smoke with her severe asthma. Remember the asthma? Sheila is like, well, I'll have you know asthma is an inherited condition. Read a book now and then and you might know something.
Hey, baby, you're sucking on the wrong nozzle.
Now, why do we have to make the black man say that? I know Rennie Harlan pointed out the black guy and he said, I want you to say this line. More on that later. Debbie sticks up for her homegirl and tells Needle Dick to go get shocked. Also finding a large beetle on one of her pork rinds, screaming, which is letting the audience know that she has a fear of bugs. I know I am not tripping. This high school is massive, bro. Not only is this hallway the size of a football field, but the entire ceiling has a skyline that's going, what, 500 feet? Kincaid and Joey come up to Kristen pissed from last night, and she's still saying that boogeyman is coming back. But the boys tell her to snap out of it. It's time to start living like regular people. Ricky calls Kristen's friend spooky, kissing her cheek, telling BB to lighten up, because nobody died. And when they walk off, we see Frederick's claws on the locker with the red light shining through. Come on, style. This is what I'm talking about. It's the little things. I cannot hate this movie. I will give Rennie that. His aesthetic. That's all I'm giving you. That night, Alice is playing 1950s housewife washing dishes. Their real mother went on to glory, by the way. In the garage, we see Ricky's favorite hobby, karate. He's doing the Illuminati sign while another banger blasts through the speakers called Anything Anything by Drama Rama. Oh my god, what a song. Whenever that comes on, I immediately think about this film because this is where I discovered it. I think I first watched this movie when I was 16, I want to say. His scrawny ass is doing kicks and punches in front of this Japanese flag, whipping out the nunchucks, and that's when their father arrives home from work. Uh-oh, you better throw them dishes down, Alice, and go in your room. Rick walks out the garage to say hi to his father, who just replies,
"Looking for something?"
Wow. As I said, Alice is acting like the housewife, bringing his plate to him after he comes home from work. I wish the I would. Why are we making our daughter serve food when we come home from work just because our wife is gone? Grown ass man, I don't care how long a day you've had at work or how hard of a day you had. Stop acting like a child. And I have to laugh because his dinner is a tiny bowl full of frozen mixed vegetables. Oh, that's funny. He gonna say something. He's like, "What am I, a rabbit?" And Alice runs to that table, slamming the bowl, telling this loser she's sick of watching him drink his life away and taking it out on her. But of course, as Mariah Carey once said, my girl who I'm always referencing, it's just a daydream. Kincaid's throwing darts in his room, still in his school clothes. Okay. The door slowly creaks open and you're waiting for the outline of the hat, but it's only Jason. Very on the nose with the dog's name, obviously. It's supposed to be, Jason Voorhees. Shortly after Jason gets on the bed, Kincaid finds himself in the trunk of a car and he starts tweaking.
"This ain't my dreamland."
Love a callback.
"Let's go kick the motherfucker's ass all over dreamland."
He immediately starts screaming for Kristen, hollering that if she's here, he's gonna pound her ass. And here we go, friends. I told y'all this was the beginning of the shift. This was the very first taste, the very first level of the idiotic ways that Frederick Jamal Krueger is brought back to life after being defeated. And if you want to know how he's brought back to life, either hit the pause button on your remote if you're watching this on the TV, or tap the screen and look at the chapter title. Yeah. Jason's digging a hole in the ground, which is the area from part 3 where Freddy's bones were buried, and Kincaid's asking this gremlin what's wrong. I don't know who the you growling at, you little piece of shit. Better get your ass back before I knock you in the jaw and lost your damn mind. I give you water. I give you food, shelter. I pick your shit up. I even give you belly rubs. Bro, what is you barking at? This dog pisses on the hole that he dug, which turns into a light of fire that creates a crack in the ground, opening it up. We can see Freddy's bones chilling as Jason starts growling. Then he went from growling to whimpering. You opened the threshold, bro. All the flesh starts coming back into Freddy's body. Oh my god. This dog unleashed hell, awakening this demon back up, and then decides to dip out. And this is why cats are superior.
My mama would have whipped my ass doing some stupid shit like that in our house.
No cat is going to do some stupid shit like this. Kincaid still doesn't know what's going on, slowly approaching that pit as Fred's glove magically comes back, and the man of our dreams picks his hat up, back in action. We get a shadow shot painting up on Robert, who says, "You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead yet." So, we meet again. You bald bitch. And now Kincaid is freaking out. First of all, I wouldn't have been standing around that. As soon as I saw that fig, yeah, I'm out, man, I'm out. We go back and forth between Cade and Freddy, who are doing this cat and mouse thing until Cade drops a car on him. Celebrating a little too early. Kincaid jumps on the car, screaming, hooray, and, you know, take that. You should know better, Kincaid. A car suddenly lights up, shooting fire, windows are smashing, numerous cars in the yard start sparking, and the black man takes off running. Come on with this green lighting. He's now trapped in a circle, and Cade screams for the woman he criticized, yelling, Freddy's back! We pan out the junkyard and see that he is standing on an infinite junk globe. Frederick teleported in front of Cade and stabs Macho Man in the stomach.
I'll see you in hell. Tell him Freddy sent you.
And I would do not that. You ain't getting brownie points. Shit, I would have told, I would have been like, yeah, man, you know, I got hit by a car. Kincaid's death was actually shot longer and much more bloodier, which makes sense because after he screams Freddy's back and we pan out of the globe, we just cut back to where he is in the circle and Freddy is already standing in front of him with his shirt jacked up. It feels like we just missed a whole bunch of in between, but apparently we were supposed to see the shot of the glove going through Kincaid's entire chest with all the blood trickling down, but you know, the MPAA was like, no, told him it was too much. Frederick says 1 down, 2 to go. As Cade wakes up in the real world with no mark on his stomach or anything, so I guess he just had a heart attack. What the hell, sure. Kristen's in bed drinking something called High C Cola with her cigs. At least she's not snorting coke. And in Joey's room, he's got some black and white film on while his headphones are plugged into an announcer talking about MTV. He looks stoned out of his mind, but we know he's actually just tired, staring up at this poster of a babe in a bikini that says sweet dreams. I didn't point this out, but when Kristen initially pulled them into her dream earlier in the movie, for like 2 seconds, we saw shots of their bedrooms. And in Joey's room, if you watch the film and you look close enough, you would notice that his bed was moving because he has a waterbed. So right now, his bed starts shaking, and when he pulls his covers back, there's a topless girl swimming underneath. It was the babe that was on his poster hung up because she's no longer there. So you know he's looking down at her like, how do I get you out, my princess? But the girl just swims down into the void.
How's this for a wet dream?
Joey's screaming for Kristen, but it's too late. Freddy takes out another warrior as his waterbed turns red. In Alice's room by her mirror, she has it covered with photos of all her friends. What in the Trish from Divergent?
Never look too long in the mirror. That's all you get.
Yeah, she would be an abnegation. Alice takes off a center picture of both her and Rick with their mother. Speaking of Rick, he sneaks in, sitting on her bed. He's like, Mama, you're not even using the purpose of the mirror. And they get into this whole conversation about how if Mommy was still alive, then Daddy wouldn't be treating them like this. Yawn. And then, you know, Ricky's telling her, you know, Boo, all you got to do is just, you got to stand up for yourself, right?
Like that.
Boy. He says, now you see yourself doing something and your body reacts and does it. Wait, okay, come on, mind over matter. Come on, manifestation. But you know, Alice is all, oh, I can't do that. I'm just a shy, quirky girl.
Shy. Like that. Big and strong. Do it.
Sorry.
Joey's mother comes in his bedroom to see if he's dead yet, and upon pulling back his covers, Joey's floating in his waterbed dead. Now, how did he get under there? Serious question. How the hell? You know what? Look at what franchise we're talking about. Both Rodney Eastman and Ken Sagos, who play Kincaid and Joey, wanted to play larger parts in the film. So how upsetting is it to see that they were both reduced to just a couple of scenes? Anyway, the next day at school, Kristen's stressed out. I mean, a bitch is going through it. In public, on school grounds, smoking, not giving a damn. Alice and her greasy hair sit down, and we learn Kristen hasn't heard anything from Joey or Kincaid. Chris notices Alice has bags under her eyes and says that they have the same luggage. So it looks like Alice in Wonderland has nightmares too. Huh. After Chris asks how she handles them, Alice shares something her mother taught her when she was little about the Dream Master. What the hell is that? It's a nursery rhyme. I love this line. She's like, just have to dream about someplace fun. Remember that you're in control. When Chris asks how she knows so much about dreams, Alice states that when it's all you have, you become an expert. Oh, that's dark. You okay, baby? Give me a hand. Give me a hand. I see you. When the ladies get to class, let the panic attack begin because Joey and Cade's desks are empty. So Kristen starts screaming, he killed them! Rick's trying to calm her down, but she yanks herself back, slamming her head against the wall. And when we cut, hold on. Robert Englund is giving me Tu Wong Fu with this drag and the red nails, please. The diva's trying to get up, but you need your rest, honey. When the nurse turns around, she starts laughing, and by the look of those teeth, this isn't going to end well.
I want to draw some blood.
I love his makeup in this film. Kristen wakes up for reals, this time with the identical nurse above her. Not dead yet. Dan rolls up to this diner joint called Craven. Yes, a Wes Craven reference. And in his truck, there's a bike on the back, which is telling us what, friends? That he likes to ride. Oh. Alice and Debbie both work at the Craven, by the way. Dan walks in asking for Ricky, but asks Alice specifically because he knows that she's his sister. Oh, so Alice, he know who you are now. Okay. You know, one step at a time. Danny's like, all right, well, you tell Rick a brother's looking for him, and turns to go sit with his friend, but then...
Oh, by the way, I'm Dan.
She gonna play with her kitty cat tonight. Debbie thinks she's slick too, saying she's gonna go wait Dan's table since Alice's shift is over. He don't want you, ho. He like his women delicate. Dan is so skinny, guys. All he orders is a Coke and some fries. But if it's not a Diet Coke, is he really that skinny? Debbie Cakes is being so desperate, asking if Dan wants to know any of the specials or some dessert. Right as Sheila comes in the diner, laughing with Alice, making fun of her whack game. And there's a quick comment about Alice being stuck in the waiting industry, working at this diner her entire life. And Alice vocalizes that that would be her greatest fear. Be prepared to see that come back. When Deb returns to the counter, she rhetorically asks where Danny works out. Another thing to remember that Debbie is really into fitness. Sheila's telling her that there is life after exercise and not to be so shallow driven by looks. And Debbie replies with a promise to set Sheila up with some quality peen to get her priorities straight. Because one of these days, her hormones will kick in. This is the first scene that we learn this motto that the film is going to keep repeating. I said it before.
Mind over matter.
And right as Sheila exits, Rick and Chris rush in with Ricky asking his sister if she can bounce with them because Joey and Kincaid got a ticket to hell last night. Dan calls over school bomber JD once he notices him, and Alice tries to comfort her homegirl.
After all we've been through together, how could I let him get to them? We were a team.
I don't mean to be rude to Tuesday, you know, but when's Wednesday coming, right? Baby, this acting... Of course, Rennie Harlan didn't see that because during filming, several main actors on set attested to this alleged romance between Rennie and Tuesday. I guess it was a fling, you know, she was being pampered and given special treatment on set while everybody else, all the other cast members, were tossed aside. The actors said out of their mouths during production that she was getting special treatment on set. Need I remind you that she also had a song written and recorded for this film? And apparently in Rennie's biography that I'm sure nobody bought, he denied it, which of course he would. The romance is even acknowledged in the part 4 segment of the Never Sleep Again documentary. Anyway, Chris says she's gonna get that son of a bitch, telling Rick to bring his ass on so they can roll out. Alice is of course asking who is she talking about, but gets no answer. Alice, Rick, Chris, and Dan, for some reason, like wow, Dan just abandoned his friend at the diner? Okay. All go to the Elm Street house, which is boarded up and Dan's asking why are they at a haunted trap house, and Kristen says, it's not just a house. It's his home, and he's in there waiting for me to dream. Rick gives Danny the rundown of Kruger's history in their hometown and the dream logic of how if you die in your dreams, you're done in real life, blah blah. The boys are looking inside the house on the porch when out of nowhere, Elaine, Kristen's mother, damn, Brooke Bundy's only got 2 scenes in this movie and she came back. She's honking the horn like, Kristen, get the hell away from that house. Andale, andale, andale. I guess they all didn't ride in the same whip because Chris and Rick have their car and Dan and Alice ride in his truck. These two just met and Dan is already... I mean, I'm rooting for it. You know, I love Alice, you know, get your man, but I'm not really buying this.
Alice comes to daddy.
That evening, Elaine's making comments about Kristen's appetite, who tells her neglectful mother, the next time you have 2 friends who die in the same day, let me know how your appetite is. We went through Dream Warriors together, guys. We know how Elaine is. You know, she don't give a damn about her child. Very, very detached. And she tells Kristen that all she needs is some sleep. And you know, that some good rest is going to cure you, child. And she put a few pills in Kristen's drink. Now, I know this girl is tired, but you're telling me she drank half a glass of water that's cloudy cloudy white without question? I don't think so. She runs to her mother's purse, pouring out the pills. Elaine's yelling sorry, and Kristen's like, sorry that you and your tennis pals torched that man and now he's after all of us? It's his banquet and I'm the last course. Elaine's reminding her that they went through all this in therapy. Well, guess what, bitch? You just murdered me. Take that to your fucking therapy. Kristen rushes upstairs like she has 6 shots of vodka. And oh my God, I told y'all in the intro, one of the funniest parts of the movie. She runs in her room trying to grab a coat.
Girl.
Throws her stuff off the dresser. The camera keeps spinning. I do love the rotating shot, I will admit that. Reaching for the phone, dialing for Alice, and starts whispering to herself, dream someplace fun. Dream someplace fun. When Kristen opens her eyes, she's on a sunny beach with her bikini bottom.
Island gal, island gal.
She sees this little gremlin making a castle who says her name is Alice. And then music comes in with this damn shark fin designed as Freddy's glove, traveling all the way through the water, through the sand, and hits the sandcastle exploding.
Party's here.
Kristen dips because this shit, I'm out. So she finds herself in quicksand, sinking into the ground. In one of the most iconic yet ridiculous shots in the film, we see Freddy putting on a pair of sunglasses. I know Robert was hot as hell. It has to be like 90 degrees. Kristen screaming, no! And he stomps his foot on her head, pushing her into the sand, cackling. Howard Berger did the makeup for this film, and there's this popular story between him and Robert during the scene shot on this beach at San Pedro. The first day was completely empty and normal, but by the second day, there were probably thousands of people that showed up to the beach wanting a glimpse of Freddy. Howard said you would have thought that the damn Beatles were in that trailer. You know, they was rocking the joint and everything. Animals! He told Robert to stick his glove out the window, you know, wave your tongue around, very silly, goofy mood. And eventually, Rob did come out in the full outfit and makeup, and everybody screamed. I know Mr. England felt like a rock star. Chris falls through the ceiling of this Elm Street house, crawling on the ceiling, on the walls, and enters another room of the house, dropping to the floor, running down the basement, now inside the boiler room. God damn it, they're really scratching an itch with the set design and these colors. Freddy's now in front of her, whipping out these blades, saying farewell to Elm Street's last brat. This shit is so funny. You know, she's screaming, we beat you before! And Freddy is like, and now you're all alone. This scene is shot so well. The sound effects, obviously, you know, Robert's performance as he's swiping the chains. We keep cutting back to Alice in her bed sleeping as Fred tells Kristen to call on a friend. You know, why don't you reach out and cut somebody? No! The wood stove blazes as Alice starts tweaking in bed, and she does exactly what this man said. She calls on Alice. I would beat this girl's ass because now why am I in it?
Now why am I in it? And you could have did it. See, I get wrong because you never apologized.
Alice comes walking in the dream in her nightgown, soaking wet.
How sweet, fresh meat.
That's history. This huge fire pit opens up and Kristen's telling her homegirl to wake up and get out, smacking her across the face, apologizing for pulling her in.
Alice, come to daddy.
The fact we don't even see his mouth moving tells you that it's ADR. Still a great line delivery, so nasty. Kristen screams, leave her alone, you son of a bitch! Charging at Kruger, but he scoops her ass up like a toddler saying, now no one sleeps, and throws her in this fire pit like a football. Freddy rips open his sweater, showing Alice the soles of the churn. Kirsten's face is now burnt into a crisp. All right, you know, I guess that's what happens in 2 seconds. She shoots her magic powers on Freddy's back and then into her bestie yelling, you'll need my power! And when Alice wakes up, she takes a greeting card off her mirror of Freddy and Chris that catches on fire. For plot reasons, Rick comes in. Why is he always coming into his sister's room? I don't know. By the way, in the script, Rick and Alice were twins, you know, even though we don't see that here. My guess is that he's always coming in. Maybe he just feels they're like this. They're the twins. But also her door was wide open, so I don't know. Maybe she was making a bunch of noise. Alice tells Rick they need to get to Chris's house, and as soon as they arrive, right above the front door on that top level, there's a fire. Fire. Just like Marge in part 1. Damn, what a pathetic ending to a final girl from a previous film. you know? After Kristen's funeral, Alice watches a VHS tape of their friend group on the beach, excluding herself, when Rick comes in sitting with her. Rick James is saying, you know, he could have stopped the fire if he was with his boo bear, but Alice is trying to explain that this is all because of a horribly burnt band with his f***ed up teeth and H&M sweater. I mean, this is some real shit. Ricky is not having it, screaming at her, enough, cut it out. I know there are stages to grief. God knows I have not been through it. And it's also a very popular trope for the audience to be following a character who is trying to explain something to everybody around them, and all her friends, all their friends, whoever, they're like, you know, cut it out, you're lying, it's not true. But this is the what? This is the third person that has died in the span of a few days. Baby, something is going on. And it's, I don't, you know, I've seen so many horror films that I just, if I was in a situation like this and I had a friend who was trying to tell me something like this, I 100% would believe them. In the bathroom stall at school, Alice notices Sheila's got luggage under her eyes. Is my sister dreaming about this burnt trick too? When Alice brings up Kruger, Sheila's like, who dat? My girl won't sleeping because she was up studying for that physics test. We're then introduced to this device that Sheila built for Debbie since she hates bugs. It exudes ultra high sound waves and makes the critters run. When Sheila exits, Alice is 2 seconds away from lighting a cigarette but stops herself, realizing that she doesn't smoke. During the physics test, poor Sheila's asthma is acting up because she keeps coughing. I think we know what's coming. Alice is asleep already. Meanwhile, all the equations on Sheila's paper start moving around until we see the words, "Learning is fun with Freddy." Blood drips on her paper coming from a pen. Alice is now awakened and is starting to freak the freak out. Sheila plays with this blood because she's an artist. But then something pulls her hand inside the desk. Alice tries to get up and help, but a bard locks her inside her chair. Another one comes out of Sheila's desk right as the Omnidroid from The Incredible summons, attaching to her face. What is going on?
All right, and break through the ice. And okay, struggle. Okay, and out, up. Okay, and now get her face. All right, and a little camera left. Okay, down, pull down, go down, go down, go down, go down. Okay, back up, back up. Okay, and push him away. Push him down, struggle, 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 down, 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 pull out.
Both the girls are screaming, but everybody's minding their business, taking their tests. I love when we pan up and see this optical illusion on the floor with Sheila right in the middle. Anyway, Jamal finally appears, picking up an apple and peeling it, cackling. He takes his hat off to be a gentleman and approaches Sheila slowly, running his finger over her lips. I'm about to throw up. Then he snatches her glasses off, flicking his tongue in front of her. Stop!
Wanna suck the face?
No.
He drains everything out of her body, and in reality, she has an asthma attack. Alice jumps up trying to use the inhaler, but the wind gets knocked out of her, which is something that we are going to see throughout the film, and it is signaling to Alice that somebody has died. She's on the ground like, didn't you see him? He was here! Alice picks up the device that Sheila made before paramedics take the body out on the stretcher. Debbie is not buying this, saying, what 17-year-old has a fatal asthma attack? While it's rare, it's not impossible. Alice brings up Freddy again, and Deb screams, enough with that crap. But I did. I brought Sheila into my dream. The epiphany begins and Alice has a meltdown running back inside. Dan's telling Rick that Kristen's story is just getting to her. But now, school bomber JD isn't so sure now. I mean, look at us, man. You know, we're dropping like flies here. Now, why did he do that? Why did he sprint like that? Days pass and Dan rolls up to the diner at closing time, asking why Alice hasn't been around. What? Are you okay? Are you out of touch? Do you not know what's going? What the f do you mean? Why hasn't she been around? Her friends are dying. Who the hell? Who is this dude? Like, are you clueless? I don't care if you're caked up back there or not.
Damn!
Don't piss me off, Danny. Now take those pants off. I'm hungry. Alice tells Bozo a bitch can't sleep because someone else might die, trying to explain that Kristen was the last Elm Street child, which means the only way he could reach other kids is through her.
Danny, we're gonna be late for the drive-in.
Who is that bitch?
He does not care about the side piece because after that girl says that, he says bye to Alice with his voice raised. He didn't whisper this, but he says, bye Alice, I'll see you later. But you know what, guys, everything I said about Danny boy, I take back. Yeah, I'm gonna take it back as a man because he gets brownie points for this next scene. In the locker room, there's a guy talking smack about Ricky.
Speaking of weird, got a feel for that guy. Dead girlfriend, basket case for his sister.
Shut up, asshole.
You all right with me, white boy? Come sit on my lap. He has a conversation with Rick walking through the locker room as Rick brings up their town's history, verbalizing it's not quite the safest place to be a teenager. No, it is not. And he playfully tells bro, if I'm next, watch your back, man. We see Ricky go into a potty stall just as we cut to history class where Alice is listening to her teacher, played by Robert Shea, producer at New Line, because he's always got to insert himself and shit, talk about Aristotle believing that our souls roam free during sleep. He says that skilled dreamers are able to control what they see. And there's a myth about two gates that your soul can enter, one positive and one negative. But the key element is that there's a dream master, someone who guards the positive gate and protects the sleeping host. Both the siblings fall asleep at the same time, and inside Rick's stall where he's dropping a nuke, a bunch of girls run in throwing pom-poms around him. Now Alice is in there. Okay. When he stands up, the bathroom's now Freddified, and in the mirror, he can see himself asleep on the toilet. Why is he serving face so hard? Kristen's also standing by the mirror, telling Daddy to make her laugh, turning around with her burnt face, and bro starts screaming. The elevator doors close and Fred's voice is on the intercom saying, "Going down." Rick's thrown all around the elevator, none of the buttons are working, lights are blinking, his whole body is raised in the air because of how fast it's dropping, and when it stops, the doors open to the set of an Akira Kurosawa film. Fred says a true warrior needs no eyes as he starts punching Rick. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you, this is one of the lamest deaths in this entire franchise. We watch Rick fight air and get tossed around the room. He kicks Freddy's glove, knocking it off, talking smack, asking, "How are you gonna fight me without your weapon, Freddy?"
What was that?
But of course that's right when the glove turns around and Fred screams, "Sayonara, Rick's arm!" She's like, "No!" And all the windows shatter. Damn, girl, another funeral. You know, they won't lie now. Motherfuckers dropping off left and right. So who's left? It's now, baby, I don't, you know, it's Debbie, Danny, and Alice. That's it. And we got 37 minutes left of the film. At her brother's funeral, she's got snot and tears flowing, his bandana's wrapped around her hands. Poor baby. Alice starts having a daydream as Rick's casket opens up and he jumps out.
Hello, baby.
Approaching his sister, asking, "What's with the tears? I wouldn't leave you. I'm here. It was all a big joke for Freddy." But she shakes her head saying, "No more daydreams." And Rick gets back in his coffin saying goodnight. Rick was another one who was supposed to have a completely different death scene. He was supposed to die in the elevator. The idea was to have this cube falling apart, you know, piece by piece, each wall of the elevator, the floor, the ceiling fall off, leaving him just falling in dark space. Rennie claims that it was because they ran out of money, while other people said that it was because the script was still in flux while they were shooting. And they did think about having his character live, but they had already shot his funeral scene. Danny and Deb are walking with Alice, asking if there's anything that they can do, but she says no because this is her own war. Deb is saying, you know, well, we all have to survive, and I don't spend hours working out to just let some Night Stalker beat me. Oh, sweetie, if only you knew. Kristen tells Arnold Schwarzenegger to calm down because it's going to take more than bench presses to beat this man. She wants to make a plan to hit up Debs tonight just as Mr. Johnson screams at his spawn to come on so they can leave. Then Danny says he'll pick her up at the diner at 8. And before she walks away, Deb gives Alice her spiky wristband, calling it good luck. The last thing that Alice says to the living survivors is mind over matter. And not only does Deb realize that that's something Sheila used to say, but both her and Danny acknowledge how much Alice is changing. I mean, the skin, the hair is on, the confidence, you know, she changes with each death that occurs. Maybe it's her absorbing the souls.
You think you've got what it takes?
I didn't point this out after Sheila's death, but there was a short scene where Alice pulled off her picture from the mirror and admired the high frequency tool that she saved, which is going to be used later briefly. And now she's taking her brother's picture off the wall. So we're starting to see that, you know, piece by piece, she's facing the girl in the mirror. You know, Rick's bandana is hung up for remembrance, and she pulls out his nunchucks. The pop record Anything Anything starts playing again as Alice steps back practicing. It's so obviously not Lisa from the back. Look at the wig, yo. But she ate. Now she's looking in the mirror talking about what's happening to me. Baby, you know what's happening. You're absorbing everybody's powers. Miss Karate Warrior tries to head out to Deb's when her drunk father gets in the way because he's lost 2 family members and won't let this one go. You know, who else is gonna serve his frozen vegetables? Damn, man, he can't even get brown rice with it, you know? Brown rice and vegetables. Danny's arrived at the diner, but he doesn't see Alice. And as he's looking around, there is this small throwaway line that he's saying, which is like Subtle foreshadowing. He says, all the towns in America and I have to move to the Bermuda Triangle. Debbie Cakes is in her garage benching, pressing to show this Night Stalker that she's not f***ing around, and Alice sneaks out her crib from the top floor just like Ricky did earlier in the film, but when she arrives to the diner, Dan already left. We see a green light, which is telling us that we are in a dream, guys, and our final girl finds herself at a theater, handing the front desk woman money who doesn't pay her any mind. Damn. Oh my god, don't tell me we're gonna have a Donnie Darko type of scene.
Why are you wearing that stupid bunny suit?
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
By the way, watch my video on that if you haven't already. One of my favorite cult films. I can't question her actions because when you're in a dream and thrown into scenarios, walking into different settings and seeing, you kind of just go along with it. So while Alice is watching this film, there comes a scene when the camera pans out and she realizes that that's the outside of the Craven Diner. The wind inside the film starts blowing and it blows inside the theater. All her popcorn and her drink are blowing away towards the screen, and this girl gets sucked into the movie. When Alice is inside this diner, which is now dirty and abandoned, she sees herself asleep in the theater. We really got to get you on some medication, baby. You can't be falling asleep everywhere. It's the 80s, man. I would have walked around with some white powder in my pocket. Damn! She sees an older version of herself dusting finger knives when Freddy summons next to her as Elder Alice brings over a big pizza with faces of all the kids who have died so far as meatballs. Fred says, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, stabbing into Rick's head.
I love soul food. Bring me more.
The diner doors burst open and we see Debbie stretching in the garage. So Fred laughs, telling our protagonist, your shift is over. Flicks his knives, waking her up. Dan is still at the diner, guys. And when Alice gets there, she tells him to hurry up, hopping in his truck in the driver's seat, stressing out because that burnt bitch is coming after Debbie Cakes. Alice says, I have to stop him. And Dan reiterates, he's like, no, we, because you my baby girl, I'm not leaving you. We in this together. While Debbie is lifting some stuffed animals, Freddy pops up in the reflection of her weights. Dan's truck pulls up to Debbie's house, but when Alice runs up to it, she turns the corner of the diner, and we get the exact same dialogue and situation between Alice and Dan. They're in a Bermuda Triangle. We're in a loop. This unserious shot of Frederick looking down on her while she's benching gets me every time.
I don't believe in you.
I believe in you.
While he lowers the bar, she tries to push it back up. Fred says, no pain, no gain. And her elbows rip open. She starts screaming and these long antenna bugs start coming out. We are on the third loop with Alice and Dan, okay? And he's the first one to mention, baby doll, I think we've done this before. Debbie enters this room looking out a window where she can see the garage and finds herself standing in this sticky substance, falling flat on her face because the room is shaking. Fred is holding this box that has her inside of it. She's shaking it around. She lifts her head up with all this sticky stuff and turns into a full-on insect. On the fourth loop, Dan repeats Alice's lines with her, and that's when she realizes that they keep circling. Freddy's got Debbie in a roach motel, squeezing the box as this juice flies out, and Alice jolts back because another life has been taken. While the couple are zooming in this truck, we see this Joker standing in the middle of the road, and Alice slams on the accelerator, but the car crushes inward, and they have an accident flying towards a tree. Fred said, I'm a tank, baby. You can't take this machine down. Alice gets in the ambulance with her man, smacking the needle out of a paramedic hand, demanding that he stay awake. This is not the same girl from the beginning, guys. She's taking charge. The doctor tells her 15 until Dan's surgery begins. Now Mr. Johnson's holding Alice back. Wait. What is this drunk doing here? Why is he here? Let's talk about that. Alice is screaming, they're gonna kill him! Snatching her father's keys, dipping out, and this girl jumps in her father's whip, leaving him stranded at the hospital and goes home to get ready for war. Right when Dan's surgery begins, they put a gas mask on him, even though he said no. Alice dumps 5 to 6 sleeping pills in her hand and throws them back like vitamins. Girl, that is dangerous. Are you trying to see God or Freddy?
This is God.
She takes off her necklace, puts the ripped jeans on, the spiky belt comes out, all while we pan across the friend group's pictures. And a piece of everybody externally goes on her outfit. Rick's headband is on her left hand, Sheila's gadget is on her waist. She even puts the hair up. One by one, Alice removes every picture off the mirror, checking the clock, and then throws everything off her dresser. When Dan opens his eyes, he sees that his doctor is...
Kruger! Well, it ain't Dr. Seuss.
Alice watches all of this in her mirror, stepping away, hollering, get away from him, you son of a bitch! bitch! As she dives feet first through the mirror into the operating room. Alice grabs her baby boy as they exit, finding themselves in a colorful pipe. This is another fabulous stylistic shot. Frederick appears, spinning the tube, making them flop everywhere until they fall inside this chapel. But Dan's stomach is pooling blood and they're too late. In the real world, the doctor says that Dan is hemorrhaging and they need to bring him out. So in the dream world, his body starts disappearing until he's gone. Dan is freaking ordering them to put him back under, but all of the meds ignore him and say that they pulled him out and he's gonna be just fine. The churn from the hood starts singing the Elm Street nursery rhyme as Alice eyes the doors where Krueger comes pimp walking in saying,
"Welcome to Wonderland, Alice."
Oh, how I loved this entire scene the first time I watched it. Alice ain't doing no talking, no rapping, no nothing. So she does a front handspring, step out, round off, back handspring, step out, round off, back handspring, full twisting layout. If you are an uncultured swine and don't understand my references, that's from Bring It On, which I've done a video on by popular demand from my patrons. Check it out. She hits those springs and I mean, wow, beating the brakes off of Krueger is a light way to put it. He's cackling through all of this and not feeling a thing, unfortunately. He swipes at her missing because she pulls the Kristen special, leaping over him and kicks him in the stomach a few times. Fred hops up on the bench saying,
"You've got the power, but I've got their souls. Bring it."
Alice hops up with him, balancing herself, and they circle around each other until she gives him a three-piece combo.
Sharkeisha!
Speaking Japanese, but he doesn't get up. So she starts backing up because we've lost him.
"You think you've got what it takes? I've been guarding my gate for a long time, bitch."
He picks our final girl up, throwing her on stage as they do this ridiculous cowboy standoff. Alice grabs Sheila's frequency device, connecting it to an electrical circuit and burns a hole through Freddy's chest. Oh my god, he's like Helen from Death Becomes Her, but then makes it disappear like it's nothing. He smacks her down as the children from the hood start chanting again. Why are y'all still here? Where my belt up? Now I lay me down to sleep. The master of dreams my soul I'll keep. In my reflection of my mind's eye, evil will see itself. We fly inside his body where there's this cool visual of all the souls he's captured. Alice screams, "Let them out!" And the souls of these teens start poking out of his body. The mirror blasts him with this energy and he's thrown up against this wall with arms coming out of his body. It's slimy, it's gross, yet pretty sick. Damn man, I miss old school 80s practical effects. Everything looks so fake now. These souls pull on him so hard that they rip his jaw off and Frederick dies. For now anyway. The spirits fly into the sky smiling, saying, "Thank you, Alice." As she watches them all go to heaven. Alice tells that burnt trick to rest in hell and kicks his glove, and the doors of the chapel open up. Oh my god, is she going to heaven? You know, she threw back like 6 or 7 pills, I told y'all, but she's fine. The last scene of the film is her and Dan walking by a waterfall. The way that they are speaking in reference to their dreams has me thinking that this is probably a couple days, or honestly, I feel like it's probably a couple weeks later. Dan says that he slept the best he's ever had the following night, but Alice notes that she's lucky if she can get 2 or 3 hours, but she doesn't mind. You know, she's got reasons to stay awake now. She's in love, y'all. Giving me Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane realness. Dan tells her to make a wish as he pulls a coin out of his pocket and tosses it in the fountain. And when he asks what she wished for, Alice says if she tells him, it won't come true. And we watch the couple walk off as a pop record begins playing. If this is the first video of mine that you are watching, all of my videos, I have an end segment where I give you my personal take on the film, and I like them to be a little bit more intellectual,
Right,
and a little bit more serious. But you know, we gonna try with this one. Try. I think out of the final girls of the 80s, our protagonist Alice Johnson undergoes one of the most literal character arcs in horror. She starts the film reserved and passive, surrounded by photos of her friends on her bedroom mirror, and as they're picked off by Fred, she becomes increasingly assertive, taking down their photos, not just physically but spiritually, absorbing the strengths of friends and family as they crumble, emphasizing growth through connection. You know, the power is built collectively, not individually. I definitely thought to myself, okay, wait, when Kristen blasted her power into Alice shortly before dying, why was the only thing she absorbed dream hopping? It was dream hopping and when she almost smoked in the bathroom.
I don't smoke.
What happened to all those flips and shit that sis was doing in the third film? You know, Miss Ninja Warrior. I'm unsure if that part was applied during Alice's fight with Fred or if it was Rick's karate skills that gave her that power. But come on, man. I feel like they only did that. They only added that little leap of her jumping over him because it was a callback to Dream Warriors. Other than that, all the fighting she does is very much karate, like it's Rick inspired. And another thing too, had Alice died when fighting this man, she should have whooped Kristen's ass in the afterlife. Yeah, because you gave me a curse. You are the reason all of these teenagers died. You kept the thread going.
Okay, now let that shit just mutilate her white ass and leave.
You could have just died peacefully in your fire pit in your bed, you know, let you be the last Elm Street brat, but no, you specifically called on Alice. That's messed up.
When you see me when you see me in the streets. That's all I'm gonna say to you, bitch. You know what I look like, and I know what you look like. So when you see me, just be ready for that handwork. That's all I'm gonna say, bitch.
Again, I personally believe Alice's fighting combat came from Rick with all of his karate skills, putting hard quotes around skills. But the whole thing with Kristen and her gymnastics, that just went out of the window. I mean, remember after she pulled Alice in the dream and Freddy was, you know, come to daddy, she yelled out, get away from her, leave her alone, you son of a bitch, whatever the line was, then jogged towards Frederick. I'm so tired, like... Weak. And you know, so something I'm thinking about is they probably didn't give Alice Kristen's fighting skills because everything physical was supposed to come from Rick. The karate was his shtick. But if that was the case, then y'all should have changed Rick's thing because on a continuity level, it's something to think about if you care about this franchise. If you were just, you know, which I'm sure a lot of those ticket sales were just people wanting to go out, see a horror film, have fun. There are but so many routes that you can go with keeping the core theme of dreams refreshing, as well as finding sensible ways to kill this boogeyman. In part 1, the power of belief and fear was pushed forth. Nancy learned that she herself, by simply believing in Freddy, gave him power.
I take back every bit of energy I gave you.
Craven played with the idea that the brain cannot distinguish between a dream state trauma and a physical one. If Fred slashed your chest in a dream, your body reacts with such intensity that the wounds physically manifest. In part 2, it was the power of love.
He's in there, and I want him back.
This is just silly.
Everything set up in the first was thrown out and went from dream infiltration to demonic possession. The dream world was a bridge for Fred to cross in order to enter our world. He didn't only haunt our protagonist Jesse, but he wore him. This was a tale of identity. In part 3, we return to the idea of dreams being proactive. The teens we follow in the psych ward realize if Fred can use dream logic to warp reality and kill them, then they can flip that same logic and reimagine it themselves. And the inner selves inside their dreams manifest as superpowers based on their desires or personality traits. This was about a team-based tactical battlefield, a group raid against a supernatural entity.
I knew you'd come. You don't think we let you go in alone, do you?
No way, we're a team.
Yeah.
The dreams were a reflection of the dreamer's psyche, and the teens fighting Freddy's dream self distracted him briefly from Neil, who threw the holy water on his bones to send him back to hell. Part 1 was a slasher, part 2 was a possession film, and part 3 was a dark fantasy action. So what does that make part 4? We lean more into the superhero aesthetic, but introduce a new mechanical concept, the transference of souls. The Dream Master mythos is used where Fred uses our final protagonist as a gatekeeper to reach new victims. We go from a psychological combat to a destined supernatural duel, and Fred's beat by forced reflection, seeing his own soul. Out of every horror franchise to live inside of, I can say wholeheartedly, Elm Street is my last pick. Sleep is the the one time that we truly are completely defenseless and vulnerable. By attacking teens there, this Joker single-handedly bypasses all traditional real-world problems. Where the previous film showed victims going within for defense, the Dream Master explores owning the dream space. Alice used multiple objects around her to use against Fred, and one of them worked so well it sent him back to hell. This just proves that, you know, all men need to do is self-reflect.
It's not happening tonight. Tonight, 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 tonight.
Another thing you notice is how in the first three, the dreams and settings were always centered around Elm Street, mainly the house or wherever characters were at. But this was the first sequel that showed Fred using dreams as arenas, so to say. He can manipulate, he can reshape, he can weaponize backgrounds. That colorful playground pipe, the beach, the elevator, the Japan-styled room. While I have my problems with Rennie Harlan, one thing I can applaud him for is 1, getting the damn film made. I'm about to go into that. And 2, for bringing an aesthetic. When Rennie was trying to snag this job, he was living out of a hotel room with a friend, eating pork and beans from a can, living the Euro and the USA dream. New Line founder Bob Shea was giving him nothing during their first meeting. I mean, he wasn't smiling, no energy. He was looking at Rennie pretty much like, why is this European dude trying to direct an American film? Rennie was gushing about how much he adored this franchise, going into nightmares of his own and how they resonate, the ideas, etc. And Bob openly admitted that one of the main reasons he hired Rennie was because he was a built, tall, 6'4" man and felt that Rennie could stay up for hours on end and get the job done because they were on a time crunch. Oh, brother! Like, cannot fucking stand film studios. It is all about money and pushing things out. Y'all don't care about the art. That is single-handedly why, story-wise, this film does not work. And you want to know the other reason? After Rennie was hired at the last second, only a few days later, a writer's strike began. And there it is. The guy was pretty much storyboarding without a script. As always, the studio initially asked Wes Craven for ideas, and both Wes and Bruce Wagner came up with a concept that involved time travel through dreams, which was technically a recycled concept from their pitched script for Dream Warriors that was removed in rewrites, but Bob and his partner Sarah Fisher felt it was too high of a concept for an Elm Street sequel and didn't think that it fit the formula Wes created with the first film. Bro, you guys greenlit Freddy's Revenge, the second one, which completely tosses out the logic that Wes set up in the first film, with Fred being able to physically come inside of the real world. What are we talking about? Both Wes and Bob Shea had a very rocky relationship, and ultimately Wes turned down the offer to direct and rewrite their script. Good for my pops, you know. Unfortunately, Wes did not receive paychecks every time an Elm Street film was made, and that's because with the original film being hard to sell, Wes signed away the rights to the franchise to New Line Cinema. And in 2014, the year before his passing, he said he received no money from the sequels and no money from merchandising for nearly a decade. So that means what? Up until the 10-year mark from the first Elm Street film, which was 1984, he did not make a cent from this franchise. And you know what else? New Nightmare, which was the Elm Street film where he came back to write and direct, that came out in 1994. Wes also didn't have any creative control or financial stake in the 2010 Elm Street Legacy documentary, which he openly dislikes. It wasn't until 2019, 4 years after his passing, that the rights to the franchise reverted to Wes Craven's estate, 35 years after the first film's release. Speaking of that damn documentary, which I've only seen once, it goes through every film in the franchise with interviews from the cast, and oh my god, I never knew this, but Toy Newkirk, who plays Sheila, revealed that in post-production for Part 4, Rennie Hairline called her in for ADR, automatic dialogue replacement. Films do it all the time. If they didn't get clear audio one day, or if they want to add something in for narrative purposes, they will get the actors to come in and re-record a line. Rennie asked Toy to re-record her lines with more sass because he felt her natural delivery didn't sound black enough for the character.
This is a nightmare!
We just went through the film together, guys, right? And we saw that Sheila was an introverted, intelligent, science-focused girl. Why Toy was rightfully infuriated and called the request stereotypical and dismissive of her performance. 1000% agree. And I've yet to see a comment criticizing me for this, which I don't know why you would, but it's stuff like this where I swear to God, I'm really not being dramatic. I'm not trying to be social justice warrior. This is why I'm constantly bringing up stuff when it comes to black women and how the world disrespects them the most. If you have seen all of my videos, there are case studies. I cannot fucking stand and gets under my skin how disrespected black women are. And it wasn't until after the film premiered and became a massive hit that Rennie apologized to Toy, saying that he had been wrong and realized the audience embraced the character exactly as she was. Fuck this guy. And apparently Rennie occasionally joked, whatever that means, that the request might have come from New Line Cinema rather than him personally. And Toy did not fall for that. It was you. Open up to it, butthead.
Hey, baby, you're sucking on the wrong nozzle.
I absolutely have to talk about Freddy becoming this culture icon, and I'll try to keep this brief because we already know so much about it, but this was the major transition from Fred being a scary shadow in the boiler room, right, to this pop culture anti-hero. Yo, how the hell did the villain, this killer, become the star? We lost the plot, guys. That was not what Wes intended. God rest my pop soul. But Fred has more screen time and more punchlines here. The running party trick with each film is to see how creative the kills get rather than the survival of the victim. Robert Englund has gone on to say that his favorite performance as Freddy is in part 4. He notions how he was more cat-like and got to dance with the camera, but as far as his favorite film in the franchise, it's New Nightmare. As much as I love these films, my God, I do not really love Freddy the comedian. I prefer Fred when he is scary. I think that he is the scariest in part 2. Like that, there is nothing funny about that movie.
You son of a bitch! You killed him!
And not everybody is a fan of horror films, and it's much more digestible for the general public to accept a comedy over horror, comedy over straight horror. So we can only blame society for feeding into fun Freddy. By the way, Robert Englund is a theater trained actor. Although he loves the horror community down, I mean, imagine being an incredibly trained and skilled actor, but you're boiled down to playing a one-liner jokester demon who is a pedophile that the audience is rooting for, you know?
Freddy Krueger is every girl's dream and every girl's nightmare.
I'm gonna have nightmares! Oh no! Oh no! Freddy is the ultimate nightmare.
Freddy's way sociable. He's a party animal.
Freddy rocks.
Like Freddy's like addicting, and you know it gets better and better each one.
There's also a commercialization of the genre happening here too. I was about to say and argue that part 4 is the most polished and stylized. I'm gonna take that back because I think Freddy vs. Jason takes that title. Now, I'm not saying from my perspective, like this is my personal favorite, because if I'm keeping it G, if I'm keeping it 100, I don't like Freddy vs. Jason. I don't care for that movie. Line up the Elm Street films, you know, check the boxes. Which one has the heavy hitting music? Which is the big budget? Which is the most polished? Which is the most, Hollywood? Which is the most mainstream feeling? It's Freddy vs. Jason. But for me personally, on a style and a set design and a coloring level, part 4 is the best one. Maybe it was destined to be this way. Rennie brought the neon-soaked style with theatrical death scenes, and it fits right in with youth culture and MTV. But with all of this, the film not being scary, the plot being as thin as my waist, certain performances being laughable, and our favorite boogeyman turning into a comedic brand, somehow I still enjoy it. The imagery, the deaths, the aesthetics, I take them as they are, and for the next few installments, you have to carry that same attitude. What are your thoughts on the Dream Master? Drop your take down below. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I would love to have you. It would be my pleasure. If you want to see the extended cut of this video, head over to the Patreon and join the family. We're fully uncensored there. You help me pick a film once a month and also get to see these vids before they hit YouTube. In the meantime, my friends, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and take care of your spirit.